Welcome to this training, 5 deadly sins. We're going to be looking at 5 killer mistakes that recruitment and search business owners make that stop them winning clients. We've done a series of these sort of mistake trainings over the last couple of months. So the reason being that, what a trend that we noticed with the recruitment and search personas that we've been speaking to is that a lot of them are making sort of, not to say obvious mistakes, but I guess common mistakes that could be easily avoided, mistakes that can be easily rectified, mistakes that if you're making right now, by the end of this training, you'll be able to go out and fix them and sort of improve the results you're getting when it comes to business development, when it comes to client attraction, and that sort of thing. Before we sort of dive in, just want to do a quick disclaimer, just to, I guess, to manage expectations. So first of all, obviously we're covering 5 of the mistakes that you could be making with your marketing or business development. They're not going to be all the mistakes. They're going to be a handful of the most common ones that we see with the recruitment and search business owners that we speak to. Again, and nothing that we share with you in this training is going to work for you if you're not prepared to, actually implement what we share, put it into action. It's not going to work for you if you're not fully engaged as we go along as well, right? So again, one thing I do want from everyone who's here, right? If we've got a chat box on the right hand side that you can sort of ask us questions on, or just give us feedback, let us know if things are making sense. All I ask is that for the next sort of, let's say between 45 and 60 minutes, you're fully engaged in what we're sharing. Again, we will answer your questions if you've got questions. But we want to know from you if it's making sense, if you're following, if it's, actually good, valuable content, right? And if it's not, let us know. If it is, let us know as well. And again, so yeah, can we just agree to that in the chat box? Give us a yes if you agree to that. And Terry, anything you want to add?
Not at this stage, Drew. Yeah, but to let you know that we really do appreciate your feedbacks, and I know at times it's tempting to think, oh, I'm just going to do this email, or I'm just going to LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. But just for the next 45 minutes, just give us your undivided attention. I promise you, it'd be worthwhile. Absolutely promise you.
Awesome. Got yes from Gary, yes from Mark, awesome. Yes from Roger. Antonio, awesome. Ian, perfect. Awesome. Also, just one thing to add: there's going to be no sales pitch at the end of this training. Again, we just want to we're just here to give you value, give you content. We've got nothing to sell, so you can sort of put your credit cards away. But look, let's dive right in, right? So, the first of the sort of big mistakes that you may be making right now in your business development and your marketing is, and this is probably one of the most common ones that we see, is that you lack consistency with your activity, right? So you lack consistency with your activity is the first big mistake. So let me just sort of give you or paint a picture of what that might look like in your business if you're making this mistake right now, right? So one of the, or some of the symptoms of this is that you've got feast and famine, yo-yo, up and down months, revenue months in your business, right? So you got the pattern that we sort of see most often is, we've got no business in, or we've got, lack of pipeline, right? So we hit the phones, we hit emails, we hit LinkedIn, we do whatever we need to do to generate the business. We then win job orders, we win assignments, whatever it is, right? And then our time then shifts, our activity then shifts to, rather than business development, it shifts to filling the placements, right? And what this creates is we've got sort of, because the activity is inconsistent, right? We've got this, feast and famine, right? We're hunting and then we're sort of delivering, right? And when we're delivering, obviously the business development drops. And because it drops, once those roles are filled, we're sort of back at square one, right? And again, it's one of the most common ones we see, where you get this sort of up and down revenue, up and down activity, which stops you really. You can have a successful business doing this. So I'm not saying that this stops you winning any clients. You will win clients, but you will never have consistent months, and you always sort of hover around the same level, going up and down. Again, give me a yes or no in the chat box if that makes sense. And Terry, can you sort of, I guess, go a bit deeper and give us, what are some of the future implications if this isn't rectified?
Yeah, so and look, just to let you know, I'm a former recruiter, so I know what it's like when one quarter or maybe 1 month you're drinking champagne and eating caviar, and the next month you can barely afford a bottle of water. But we've all been there, and the family feast. And one of the big impacts as a business owner is that you have this inconsistent, or some recruiters call it lumpy income coming in. And it's interesting talking. We're fortunate. We talk to recruiters every day of the week. One of the feedbacks they say that we get, rather, from recruitment search business owners that we speak to, is that inconsistent income creates uncertainty, it knocks the confidence, because when the income's not there, it has an impact on the confidence, and that negative impact then has an impact on their family life as well. So everybody wants this consistent, regular income coming in, and I'm going to come on now to the solutions, and one of the solutions is, rather than only doing business development when you need to do business development, how would it be for you if you had a system or a process in place where you were constantly generating leads, constantly generating inquiries? Well, the other advantage of that is, if you have an abundance of inquiries, you're less likely to take those lousy deals that you're sometimes tempted to take when you've got no business. Because one of the problems with inconsistent or lumpy income is, hiring manager says, well, we're only going to pay you 15%, and we're not going to pay you for another 60 days, and all the other silly things that hiring managers can say. In your heart of hearts, you know that it's silly, but because of this inconsistency, at times you take it because you think this is better than nothing. The moment you can get your head around that and make the decision, this is all about making a decision about putting a solution in place, so you've got a consistent flow of inquiries coming in on a regular basis. It will dramatically improve your business, improve your confidence. So it'll have a positive impact on your home life as well once we make that decision. Drew, any thoughts on that? Anything to add to that, rather?
Yeah, I think as you listen to this, no matter how established your business is, so you could be a sort of a startup recruiter or a seasoned veteran with lots of experience, right? If you've got clients right now, you've worked with clients in the past, you have a process that works for bringing in business, right? You've got it there, right? One of the reasons this happens is, I guess the solutions is that you either need to have it so you outsource the process, right? So the process you have right now, rather than you doing it, so that and it will be manual labor. So when you're busy, you can't do it. So rather than you doing it, you outsource it to somebody else in the team, or you outsource it to another firm, or you, as someone said in the chat box, you use automation to do some of it. And again, I don't think you can use automation to do all of it, but you can use it to do some of it, so it takes less time. Or you narrow it down and make a better process for yourself, so it doesn't take as much time, right? So some examples of this, and again, we've got clients who do a mixture of these, right? So we've got a client in Australia who called Daniel. All his business development takes him 45 minutes per day. All right, and all he does, he has a particular sequence of steps that he does on LinkedIn, and that generates him, I think it's between 40 and 50 client meetings every single month, and that's his business development. So no matter whether he's filling assignments, that always gets done, right? So it gives them that consistency. We've got other clients who use automation, so perhaps it's email automation or whatever. We've got other clients who, they've outsourced their business development phone calls, or they've outsourced their email marketing, whatever it is, right? It's got to be one of those three things, right? But that's the solution, right? We need to have it. First of all, get clear on the activity, and then work out what steps you need to take. So it's always being done, no matter how busy you are, or no matter when you're on holiday or when you're filling assignments, it always gets done. And therefore you always get the results. Guess want to check in. Just give us a yes or no in the chat box. Does that make sense? And Terry, anything you want to add to that before we move on to mistake number 2? You're on mute, Terry. Terry, you're on mute.
Apologies. Yeah, we get in terms of bringing somebody in, we get emails or calls on a regular basis, people saying, I'm going to bring in a business development person, or I'm going to bring in a telesales person. That's great, but you've got to manage the process, and you've got to be crystal clear what it is you want them to do. But the thought of bringing somebody in and saying, well, I'll just leave it to get on with it. I've been in the industry for 26 years. I have never, ever known that to work. If you just bring somebody in and keep your fingers crossed, that it's going to work. You must have a system and a process in place. And look, we all know, we've all been around long enough to know that the old days of, I'm a former recruiter, when you used to cold call to get business, we all know now how much more difficult that is now. So if you're going to bring somebody to do the calls, you want to have a marketing system in place, so they're only calling warm inquiries rather than complete strangers saying, yeah, I'm a great recruiter, have you got any vacancies? Just to be absolutely clear on that. So it's not a case of just putting an ad out there and getting a VA or somebody to make your appointments. You've got to have a system and process in place. Back to you, Drew.
Perfect. So the first mistake is lacking consistency in your activity. The second big mistake that we see, and again, this is with firms of all sizes, is trying to copy your competitors, or trying to copy what competing firms in the market are doing, right? So perhaps when you're writing content or when you put your website together, one of the first things you do is, okay, what's my competitor down the road doing, or what's so and so doing, and then you try and emulate what they're doing. And again, it at one level it makes sense, right? Especially when you're just starting out, because you need sort of a baseline to go through. But I think one of the things we see is, and again, this is probably more of a problem the more saturated the market's getting, right? One of the big problems, or I guess a couple of big problems, like number one, right? If you speak to any recruiter, and we speak to a lot, right? Their biggest challenge for most recruiters, the biggest challenge, the thing they're weakest at, the thing they hate the most, the thing that they lack skill in the most is the business development and marketing, right? So if you're out there copying your competitors or other people in your field, you're copying people who don't actually know what they're doing, right? So it's obviously if you're doing that, then your results aren't going to be the way you want them to be. Secondly, even if they were doing the right thing, as soon as you or other firms start doing, copying them, doing the same thing, it gets a thing that was once something that would help you stand out is now the thing that's making you blend in, right? So sometimes when you speak to hiring managers and they're using multiple firms to fill one vacancy, or they're getting you to lower your fees, or you can't really, you're speaking to them on the phone and you can't really get across why they should use your firm above someone else. It's because your marketing is forcing you to blend in because you're copying what other people are doing, right? And the more you do that, the less likely they are to be able to differentiate you from other people in your sector. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, it reminds me when my youngest son was probably about 7. He played in his first football match. And if you've ever been along and watched, youngsters that age playing football, there's 20 players on the pitch, and wherever the ball is, all the players go across to where the ball is, and if you watch it, it's just like 20 children just following the ball all the time, and you watch it and you smile, and you can smile, but I always think so many recruiters do that. So as Drew said, so many recruiters look at other recruiters' websites and do something similar. So many recruiters look at other recruiters' LinkedIn profile and do something similar. And here's the other thing that worth noting as well. You're copying examples, somebody else's website. You have no idea whatsoever whether it works. So we know some recruiters that can generate, maybe 10, 15 leads a month just from the website. But we also know that majority, and the majority being probably 85% of recruiters out there, don't generate any inquiries from the website. But you don't know which ones are working and which ones aren't working. So you copy the ones, and you're probably copying ones that don't work. And it's also worth noting as well, it's something like 80% of recruiters are not in business after 7 years. So you want to be careful who you're copying and who you're going to model. And the thing that Drew pointed out there was not standing out from the crowd. So if you're talking to a hiring manager and your profiles are the same as everybody else's, your LinkedIn profile, and your website is pretty much the same as everybody else, how do you stand out? So you don't stand out in it, and it is a problem. And in terms of the solution, what I want to say first of all, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you don't know how to do a website or write copy for a website. It's not your fault that you don't know how to write a profile for your LinkedIn profile. Majority of recruitment and search business owners that we speak to on a regular basis, they're former recruiters that have been employed by somebody else to then go off on their own. And most of them, 99%, have never been shown how to write copy for a website. Most have never been shown how to write copy for their LinkedIn profile so they can attract clients and candidates. So the solution is, at the very least, get an expert in, get somebody in that knows how to write sales copy at the very least. And on that point, most recruiters go to a web designer who would design a website. So what they are is web designers, but they're not experts in writing copy. It's two different things. It's like getting a carpenter in to fix a door for you and saying, well, as you're here, can you do my electrical work as well? But many recruiters do that. They go to a web designer, and the web designer's got no evidence to support that they can write sales copy. And this is very important. They know how to write sales copy, so you get leads. So the solution is to get somebody to do it. You do what you're good at, and the majority of recruiters I speak to are great at recruiting and finding the candidates and meeting the client's needs and managing the whole process, and get an expert in to do the things that you don't know how to do. Anything you'd add to that in terms of solutions, Drew?
Yeah, I think it's in two parts. I agree with everything you said. I think and again, there's nothing necessarily wrong with looking at what your competitors are doing. But one of our big philosophies, one of the things that we teach recruiters that we help is that you need to be prepared to violate the industry norms. And this goes for your marketing, your business development, your sales, how you're priced, your website, everything, right? You need to be able to look at the market and see what the commonalities are. What's everyone doing? What's the approach that everyone's taking? And then we can take from that what's good, because there will be some good things, but also like, how can I violate that? How can I violate what the industry norms to make my firm stand out, to make me better than the rest? Right. And if we're not, I think there's sort of this like a fear sometimes as well with a lot of recruiters, and again, not just recruiters, any business owners, right? A fear of putting yourself out there, a fear of being different, because the second that you're different from the crowd, you put yourself in a position to be criticized. Oh, who does Terry think he is to be charging these fees, or who does Terry think he is to be posting that content, right? And again, we've probably as a consumer, you've probably viewed people's content and thought, oh, who do they think they are, and sort of maybe bad-mouthed it yourself, like internally, right? And again, so then we have this fear that people are going to do that to us. But the only way to get the results, the only way to stand out, is to violate the industry norms, right? Terry, anything you'd add to that, just on the the fear
Yes,
of being different?
yeah, really good point there about violating the industry norm. So a hiring manager will say something to you. Well, most recruiters charge me 16% for this type of work. For many recruiters, your reaction is, well, yeah, we'll compete with that. But you really want to violate and say, yeah, that's most recruiters. But look, if you want the best candidate, you can't have the cheapest candidate and the best candidates. And our fees are 33%, but we only provide the best candidates. And it is really about violating the industry norms and standing for what you believe in. And that's just one example around price. But everything that you're doing, when hiring manager says, well, not many other recruiters do that, you say, that's right. But that's one of the reasons why we're the leading players in this field. And that doesn't come instantly, by the way, being comfortable, just standing out from the crowd. Everybody wants to sort of blend in with the crowd. The problem with blending in with the crowd, you're going to get ignored. You're then vanilla. You're just like everybody else. And the moment you're prepared to stand up for what you believe in and violate the industry norms is the moment that you'll stand out from the crowd. Back to you, Drew.
Awesome. So, I want to check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And also, if you've got any questions as well, you can post them in the chat box as well. So yeah, let us know in the chat box if this is making sense so far. So yeah, Edward said, same with companies that want to sell you their software, good software people who think they know what recruiters want and need, but never consult experts in the industry. Yes, exactly the same thing, right? If you want to be the best at marketing, like consult someone who knows about marketing, right? And it's not going to be probably one of your competitors, right? It's going to be someone else in the field of marketing, right? Again, let me know if it makes sense. Got any questions? Awesome. Gary said, yeah, charge more.
Yeah, and there's another point you made. You need to be the leader in your field rather than the follower in the field.
100%.
That's really well put. Yeah, 100%. You want to look to lead. And by the way, most of the market are looking for leaders. They're looking for something to guide them. So the moment you make that decision to lead and to lead your clients and your candidates, you're gonna take over. Yeah, 100% charging more. Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. So look, moving on to mistake number 3, right? Mistake number 3. So again, just to recap, number 1 is lacking consistency. Number 2 is trying to copy your competitors or being scared to stand out. Number 3 is, and again, it's in 2 parts for these, is either not doing any marketing or not doing any business development at all, or not doing a particular type of business development because you think it won't work in your market when you haven't even tested it yet, right? So, and again, there's a few ways that this presents itself and maybe present itself in your business right now. So it's either you don't believe in marketing, right? You don't think it's going to work, right? You perhaps believe, or have this belief that your prospects, your clients are too sophisticated for this particular type of marketing. They won't respond to it. They're not on LinkedIn. They don't open emails. They don't answer calls. Whatever it is, it might not be marketing as a whole. It might be a particular platform that you have made assumptions about without testing it, right? So therefore you don't do it, right? So it might be that you believe that email marketing won't work, so you just don't do it, right? And yet there could be competitors in your market who are doing it and getting results, or even if there's not, it could be that because you haven't tested it, you don't know whether it's going to get the results you want, right? So that's some of the ways it can present itself. Terry, what are some of the implications if this isn't fixed?
In terms of not doing it, well, the most obvious one is not having the business, and many recruiters again, they go off on their own. and they have a network of contacts that they've had for some time. So initially they do quite well because they use their network. One of the problems with that is that eventually they run out of the network. So they've never got into head, actually, I need to do some business development. I need to do some marketing here. And again, I think not doing it, part of it maybe is just ignorance. I don't know how to market. I've never been shown how to market, and I totally get that. And again, it's another reason to get expert advice, that if you don't know how to market, you don't know how to do business development. Yeah, but for the majority, in the majority of cases, in my experience, I get phone calls from recruiters saying, "Terry, you've been in business 2 years, and the first 2 years were great. And I had some business that I got from my previous company or my old network and whatever. And one or two things happened. Either that network's dried up, or through no fault of theirs, they've had one or two, maybe three main clients that will give them 80% of the business. This is probably the most common one. And through no fault of theirs whatsoever, that of the recruiter, they lose that business. Business is acquired. They bring in an in-house team. Business closes down. The decision makers in that organization move on. So they'll start from scratch. So not doing it makes your business extremely vulnerable if you're not doing this. Because if you just run those existing clients that you've got right now and you lose them and you're not doing any business development, it does make you extremely vulnerable. Does that make sense, Drew?
It does make sense. Again, just want to check with everyone else. Can give us a yes or no in the chat box if it makes sense. And yeah, Terry, just to add to what you said, like I think it's a really good point. And I think, again, if you're let us know if it makes sense in the chat box. Give us a yes or no, and if you've got any questions, let us know as well. I think sometimes, if you're a recruitment business owner, look back at your last 90 days, right? Look at how many placements you made in the last 90 days, and I think sort of a good indicator of this is going on is how many of those placements have come from new clients, so new business. It was the first placement you made with that company versus existing clients, right? And I think one of the vulnerabilities that we see before people come and speak to us, or when they come and speak to us, is that you could get a recruiter who's doing really, really well revenue-wise, right? They're making, consistently making placements, consistently doing the revenue numbers they want to hit. And it's only when you sort of pull back the hood and look a bit deeper at their, the mechanics in their business, you see that, okay, yes, you're making placements, yes, you're generating revenue, but all of this is coming from repeat business, right? And there's nothing, again, repeat business is brilliant. So I'm not saying there's anything bad about repeat business, but like Terry said, there's a real vulnerability in that when the market shifts or someone at the company, your contact at the client company moves on, or something happens with that company or those companies where they stop hiring or stop using you, which can happen, and I'm sure has happened to most of us on this call. You're extremely vulnerable and extremely brittle, right? You need to sort of develop the skill and build the processes where you can consistently bring in new business all the time, right? Yes, it's great to leverage and tap into your current client base. That's brilliant. And again, we all should be doing that. But alongside that, we need to have a method or methods, better language, of bringing in new business. So that, worst case scenario, if all our current clients pulled the plug or had a hiring freeze, and again, it's just something that we saw happen with a lot of our clients in COVID, like their current clients, their sort of loyal base of clients stopped hiring, right? And if they didn't have the ability to bring in new clients, they would have really struggled, right? So you need to have both things working for you at the same time. Again, so double check in, does that make sense? And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
I just want to share a story. When I was a search consultant, one year I got, for you guys based in the UK, you'll know this organisation, a big retailer called Asda, and we built their entire IT team. And from my point of view, in terms of business, it was worth about 300,000 a year. And I had the business for about 18 years. But in the first year, as a consultant, my then manager, the name of Keith, says, "That's great, Terry, but if you lose this business, you've got no business." And I always was arguing, saying, "Yeah, but I can't do anything else. I've got to meet the needs of this particular client. I've got to deliver on these roles." Well, as Drew said there, within 18 months, for 18 months, I know it's fantastic. I was drinking champagne every day and smoking cigars. It was absolutely fantastic. There's no other word for it. I'm doing, 30, 40,000 a month every month. But then my decision maker that in that organization moved on to other things. The IT director then left. New IT director came in. I lost every piece of business within a space of about 6 weeks. So I went from doing one quarter, I did 102,000 in one quarter. And the first quarter with the new IT director, I did 17,000, just like that. No, never ever make that mistake. And I'm speaking from bitter experience. You've got to be constantly, regularly doing marketing and business development, and having that flow of inquiries coming in again and again. Look, give us your thoughts on that. If that's all making sense, what I've said there, if that resonates with you, where you've had one main client and for whatever reason you've lost that main client, let me know your thoughts in the chat box. Chat box. Excellent. Back to you, Drew.
Perfect. So yeah, again, just to check in as well. Just to let me know, just give me a number in the chat box, right? So which one of these mistakes do you think you're making most right now? So number one is lacking consistency. Number two will be trying to copy your competitors. Number three is not doing enough business development or not doing any business development, right? So let us know which of these mistakes is probably having the biggest impact on you right now. Just give me 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to read out some of these comments as well. So yeah, Edward said, never rely on a select group of clients, always be looking for new business. Gary said, I lost my job with COVID as I was running. Yeah, lost my job with COVID as I was running one single client. Yeah, again, so similar story to what Terry was saying. And again, I think during COVID, a lot of the people that we spoke to, so we had a lot of recruiters reach out to us during COVID for help. And a lot of them, it was that similar story where they had one main client who, the client was hit by COVID, or the client was impacted by COVID, and therefore had a hiring freeze, right? Which obviously then affected the recruiter. Again, it's a really, really common one. Antonio said, yes, our IP are candidates and contacts, and they all move on. Yep, 100%. So yeah, some of the common mistakes. So yeah, Mark said is common mistakes number 1, number 3. So lacking consistency and not doing enough business development. Adam number 1, Roger 3 as well. Again, so not many 2s in there. But yeah, good to hear. So right. So yeah, let's move on to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 is relying on one or a few methods of business development. Right. So this one's quite similar to, things we touched on just previously with the dangers of relying on one client or few main clients, right? And the same thing applies to relying on one or a few methods of business. And again, one of the most common ones we see with recruiters where, I said right at the beginning that if you've already got a business, right, you've already got a process in place that works for bringing in clients, right? It could be referrals, could be cold calling, could be cold emails, could be whatever it is. You've got a method of marketing or business development that works really well for you, and you've proven that it works and you've got consistent results with it. And again, I'm not saying to stop doing that. You should definitely keep doing that. But alongside that, one of the things we need to be doing is building multiple streams of bringing in business, because again, same way a client could pull the plug, the method that you're currently using could be shifting that too. So let's say your method right now is LinkedIn. LinkedIn works pretty well for you. And again, this may happen to you. I remember sort of a few years ago, you Terry, your LinkedIn account got banned, right? So we used to use LinkedIn heavily. Terry's LinkedIn account got banned. Suddenly the source of clients dries up. Or it could be that it's cold calling, right? And all of a sudden, GDPR comes in, or we can't make as many calls, or it could be that it's email marketing, and things can always happen to stop that. Whatever that sort of particular method that you have for bringing in clients, it could impact that heavily. So what you need to do is build in multiple streams of business development, multiple streams, multiple ways of getting clients that all work, so you're sort of protected and you're not as brittle. Again, so I want to check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, if you think about you can think of any brand in any sector, be it Apple iPhones, or fashion designer. They don't just advertise or use one platform. They don't just advertise on TV or in the newspapers, on billboards, or whatever. They will use a number of platforms to promote their goods. And in my opinion, one of the biggest mistakes that recruiters make is you talk to recruiters and you say to them, how do you get business? And they say this: LinkedIn, telephone, and networking. So that's just 3 platforms. And I say, what about getting candidates? So yeah, we always use LinkedIn. Think about that for a minute. There are 950 million users on LinkedIn. There are 3 billion users on Facebook, but majority of recruiters never use Facebook. But why not use it? And if you know how to use it, and if you had a presence on those platforms, and since most of your clients and candidates are on Facebook, it seems a tad unwise not to use other platforms. And so LinkedIn, networking, and telephone are the 3 main methods. Why not direct mail? Why not the other social media platforms? Why not trade journals? But the more often your hiring managers see your name, the more business you will get. There's a direct correlation between the two.
Yeah.
The more often you email your audience, and let's look at emails, by the way. If any of you guys just rely on emails, look at the opening rates on emails. Very rarely will it go above 40%. So you send 1,000 emails, and if you're lucky, 40% of those emails get opened. Somebody said, Edward said, texting as well, another great platform. But the more platforms you use, the more often you're seen by your hiring managers, the more business you'll get. And think about this as well. If your competitors are doing that and using multiple platforms, but you're just using LinkedIn, telephone, and emails, who do you think is going to get the most business? And it will have nothing to do with them being a better recruiter, or having lower fees or more candidates or anything else. It's just that the hiring managers know them better. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we always talk about is that your job as a recruiter in terms of business development, right? You can't like control the market, you can't control, the thoughts of hiring managers, right? So really, like, the job of business development is you want to be the first person that your hiring managers or your prospects think of when they're ready to buy. Right, you want to be the first person, when they have a need for what you do, or when they have a need for a problem you solve, you want to be the first sort of name or company that pops up in their head. And the fact is, you're going to have some clients who prefer to be contacted on LinkedIn, some who prefer email, some prefer telephone, some prefer text, some who just aren't on LinkedIn at all, some who only read the post, right? That's just going to be the fact of how the market works, right? So if there's a platform you're not using, or not using correctly, or not using with enough volume, you're missing out on any prospect who prefers that platform or that method, right? So you want to build into your business, again, one at a time. It's not something you can sort of go out and do tomorrow. But you want to add one additional method, each month or each time you get one working for you. You want to continuously, I guess, stack the odds in your favor that you're going to be the first person the client, the prospect thinks of when they're ready to buy, right? And again, another problem that we haven't really touched on, which sort of goes back to mistake number 3 as well, not doing any marketing, not doing enough marketing, is that one of the biggest. So if you don't have the clients you want right now, one of the biggest reasons is that you are obscure, right? They just don't know you exist, right? There's people in the, I don't care what market you're in. There's people in the market hiring right now. There's people in your market paying recruiters, paying probably higher fees than you're getting right now. The reason they didn't come to you, or the reason that you haven't won that business, often it's not because you got to the pitch and they said no. Most common reason that you don't win business is because they don't know you exist. You're not even getting to pitch. You're not even getting to propose your services to them, right? You can solve that by fixing mistakes 3 and 4, by doing more marketing in the first place, but then also being in more places. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. Yeah, Antonio said, yeah, I agree. LinkedIn is overused by recruiters, and that's causing too much noise. But yeah, let us know. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box before we move on. And Terry, anything you want to add to that in terms of recruiters being obscure and clients not knowing they exist?
Yeah, I think you've covered it all there, Drew. I think we both have, in fact. So yeah, nothing to add on that. But yeah, would love to get your thoughts, Mark, Lorraine, Edward. Yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts on what we've shared with you here, Antonio, on what we've shared. Our sole aim is to help you generate more leads, make more placements.
So yeah, look, Antonio said says was a thing, I spell an error, but maybe says yes, you have to be seen to be believed. So yeah, Adam, interesting comment from Adam, right? Adam said, I'm not a fan of using Facebook. I do not see it as a professional platform, right? So this goes back to mistake number 3 we're talking about earlier. I actually agree with you, Adam. Like, I agree that, or used to agree. I'm not a particularly fan of Facebook either. I would agree that it's not, in comparison to LinkedIn, it's not as a professional platform. But I'd also say, look, and I can't argue this, that there's a percentage of your clients who are on Facebook. They just are, right? I don't know what market you're in, Adam, but I'm sure there's going to be a percentage of your market who are on Facebook and who use Facebook more than they use LinkedIn. Right? Recruiters love LinkedIn. We all love LinkedIn, but not all of your audience do. So, and again, it may be a case that you try Facebook and it doesn't work. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that we can make as business owners is making the assumption that because we have a belief about Facebook, or we have a belief about email or whatever, we're just not going to try it, right? All I'm saying is to test these methods. again, give it long enough to see if you can get results, and then make a decision from there. Again, I hope that makes sense. Give me yes or no in the chat box. Any questions as well, Terry? Anything you want to add to that?
Just on that one, Adam, it's estimated it's only about 23% of the workforce are on LinkedIn. So most of the workforce are not on LinkedIn. And let me give those numbers again, Adam. 950 million users on LinkedIn. This is worldwide. 3 billion users on Facebook. I'm almost guaranteed that most of your clients and candidates are more active on Facebook than LinkedIn. And again, I agree with Drew. I'm not a fan either of Facebook. But then again, I'm not a fan of text either. But I will use Facebook and I use texting for marketing. I don't need to be a fan of them. I just need to get the results from them. So I really endorse what Drew said, to at the very least test it for yourself and see, and and get some expert advice as how to use Facebook to generate leads and also to find candidates. And one more thing, Anne, just very quickly. You're competing with some recruiters where the hiring manager says, why would I work with you rather than, say, with Adam? And some of your competitors are saying, well, if Adam's like any of the recruiters that we talk to on a regular basis, he's only using LinkedIn and maybe job boards to get candidates. So he's finding a very small pool. Whereas we as recruiters, we use LinkedIn, we use job boards, we use Facebook, we use Instagram, we use X, because all these platforms have been known to find candidates. So if you want the best candidates from the widest possible pool, that's why you should use us than those recruiters that only use LinkedIn and emails, as an example.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, question here from Antonio, Terry, for you. What was the LinkedIn stat again that you gave?
LinkedIn. Numbers. Worldwide, 915 million LinkedIn, 3 billion on Facebook worldwide.
Yeah. Awesome. Again, any questions, let us know in the chat box. Again, move on to the last thing. But I just want to quickly recap. And again, in fact, before we move on to the last one, give me again by putting a number in the chat box. What is the mistake that you think's having the most impact on your business right now? So number one, we've got, and again, if it's multiple, just put all the numbers, right? Number one is we've got lacking consistency. So perhaps you're someone who you've got a method of marketing that works, but you're just not doing it consistently. So 1 month you do it, next month you win and you've got clients, you've got assignments to fill, so you do it less, right? And therefore your results are less, right? Number two is that you look at what the rest of the market are doing and you're trying to emulate your competitors so much, and therefore you're blending in, right? So that could be the second mistake. Number three is that you're not doing it enough or not doing any business development at all. And number four is that you're relying on too few methods, right? So which ones are the ones having the biggest impacts on your business right now? Again, I want to hear a number from all of you. And again, if it's multiple, just put that. But give me your numbers in the chat box.
So Roger said 3. So 3 is not doing any business development. We talked about the implications of not doing any business development.
Yeah. I think it's the easiest to fix, really, because you just need to do something, right? It's increasing when it comes to business development, right? Increasing volume is probably the easiest mistake to fix, right? You just need to do more calls, more emails, more LinkedIn, whatever. It's probably the most time consuming to fix, but the easiest to fix as well, because you can, tomorrow you can increase the volume. Sorry, Tay, what were you saying?
Yeah, just do a few more. Antonio's biggest one for him is 1 and 4. So again, lack of consistency and doing the marketing. The consequence of that is lumpy income. And number 4, using too few platforms. So we encourage an omni presence. So what that means is there's a good percentage of your market that's never ever heard of you. And by the way, I want to repeat this. The most successful recruiters out there are not necessarily the best recruiters out there. They haven't got the lowest fees, they haven't got the biggest database, but the most successful recruiters are the ones that are better at sales and marketing. Always.
Yeah.
So again, another inflation, not getting this right. Just Roger is number 4, which is the omnipresence again. Stop repeating. And Edward 4, expanding marketing methods again. So omnipresence. We kind of touched on a few. I can almost guarantee that every market that you guys work in, there are trade journals, there are printed magazines and trade journals, there are electronic journals. Again, you should do everything in your power to be featured in there and having the presence in there. I keep repeating this. The more of your market that know of you, the more business you will have.
Yeah.
And number 5 of 4 is not knowing who your ideal client is.
So we're number
Who
5.
is your ideal? Let's start with you, Drew. Take over from there, please.
Yeah, sorry, it's mistake. It's mistake number 5, not 4. Just to clarify, it's not knowing who
Oh,
your
sorry, apologies.
ideal client is, right? So, and again, you probably hear that and think, well, I know who my client is, right? And that, so I guess to clarify on that, one of the way this sort of presents itself or could present itself in your business is that you're speaking to people who you believe in your market, but they're not actually decision makers, right? So sometimes, and again, we have it with some of our clients sometimes, they're having lots of conversations, but they're speaking to people who can't actually pull the trigger and they're pitching their services. And that person says, I need to go and speak to so and so because it's actually so and so who's the ideal client and not the person they're speaking to. Again, I just want to check in. Does that make sense? First of all, that explanation, just give us a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. And the moment you're able to define your ideal client, you can communicate to them so much better. So on a personal level, I think I shared earlier, I worked within retail. Retail IT was my niche market when I was a search consultant. So my message would be: are you the CTO within a retail organization looking to ensure that your projects are delivered on time and to budget? So I'm very clear about who I'm talking to. Often I see ads, and you've probably seen them as well. Are you looking to recruit at the moment? Well, think about that. Probably the office manager's looking to recruit, possibly the warehouse manager's looking to recruit, possibly the financial director and the CEO. But who exactly are you talking to? You see, there's a formula we talked earlier about writing copy, and one of the formulas for writing copy is called AIDA, which stands for attention, interest, desire, action. So the first one's attention. You have to be crystal clear whose attention that you want. So if you say attention, if you're a CTO, you're making it crystal clear whose attention that you want to get. And you will repel those people that you don't want to talk to. So if you're recruiting at a senior level within IT, you don't want to be talking to the office manager, as an example, and that's absolutely fine. And the other advantage of having your ideal client is that when you can communicate to them, your message resonates with them, and you can communicate directly to them, so they feel as the reader that you're speaking direct, but they go, yeah, I get it. This guy gets my challenges that I'm having right now. And as Drew said, for many recruiters, the biggest challenge they have is that they're not talking to the right people. So they jump onto a call with somebody, and the person says, well, actually, I want to talk to you about my next career move. But you want to be talking to the decision maker about the hiring going on in that organization. And again, the clearer you can get on who your ideal client is and what their problem is, the better the results you're getting. If you get this wrong, the symptoms of this is that you end up not generating any leads, or you generate lousy leads. And the impact that has on you and the business is that you don't get the revenue that you want. So it's really important you get crystal clear about who your ideal client is.
Yeah, awesome. Again, just want to check in. Does that make sense? Give us a yes or no in the chat box. And any questions as well before we wrap up. Again, just to go back a step, Terry, and just on the last one, right? I think for those of you who are saying that 3 and 4 are your most common ones, I think they're the easiest to fix. Again, you need to know what you're doing, obviously. But I think when it comes to volume, we're using different platform. It's fairly simple fix, right? The one where it's going to probably take more work is if you're number 1, where it's lacking consistency. Because I think one of the big things that from the recruiters we speak to is that although they've got a process that works, it's not documented, right? You need to, if you're going to automate it or give it to someone else to do, you need to be able to have it like effectively an instruction manual that says, here's the steps to take that's going to bring in business. And that's how it's going to work. I think sometimes recruiters outsource their business development and give it to someone when they haven't got a working process. And then they end up sort of wasting money or wasting time at the very least. Again, let us know if that makes sense. Or Terry, anything you want to add to that?
No, you covered that really well, and spot on as well. So yeah, anything you want to add, any questions or any thoughts? If this is making sense, let us know. Hey, by the way, if it's not making sense, please let us know. We'll do everything to clarify anything that we've said. Yeah, so please let us know in the chat box your thoughts, feedback, and not observations from what we said.
Awesome. So yeah, we'll wait for a few questions. If there's no questions, or why waiting for questions, I guess. If you do want to sort of speak to us in more detail about this, if you go to makemoreplacements.com/clients now. Again, there's a short video there, but effectively you can book a one-on-one call with Terry where we can go through some of these in a bit more detail. specifically how it can work in your business as well. So if you want to attract more clients, you want to attract better clients, go and look at that video and it will explain all the details as well. But any questions in the chat box, let us know. Can you give us, so Gary said, can you give us a list of where you would advise getting leads from? So Gary, just to check in what you mean by that. When you say leads, do you mean like leads as in a list of prospects in your market, or do you mean like engaged leads, so people who are actually interested in hiring you right now, new vacancies? Where can I get a list of new vacancies from? So again, this might be sort of a controversial advice. I wouldn't recommend getting a list of vacancies or new vacancies because and the reason for that is, so again, this is one of a mistake that we didn't cover in these, but one of the things stopping you winning business or winning the right business right now is that a lot of the clients that you win, a lot of the clients that most recruiters win is they're clients who are working with multiple recruiters already, right? So they win the business and they get the contract signed, and they spend hours, weeks, whatever, trying to work on that vacancy, trying to find the candidates, but just for another recruiter to fill the vacancy. And if they're working on contingency, they never get paid, right? So rather than looking for vacancies, what I'd look for is prospects in your market you have a problem that one of your candidates can solve, right? But before they've started the recruitment process. If you get to them before they've started the recruitment process, and again, we stand a better chance of being the first person they think of when that recruitment need comes along. Right. So I'll be working on building my network of, hiring managers in my market who aren't necessarily recruiting right now, but could be in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Right. And make sure that during that time, I'm providing them with enough content, enough demonstration, enough evidence that I'm the person they should speak to. Again, someone check in. Does that make sense, Gary? And anyone else, give us a yes or no in the chat box. And Terry, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, we get this question quite often. I want to find some more new vacancies, and so does every other recruiter want a new vacancy. And the consequence, there's half a dozen recruiters working on their same vacancies. And as Drew rightly said, you want to be finding the hiring manager that here we are in the last quarter of the year, but you're having the conversation with them now, and they're talking about their needs for quarter one. They're the conversations. So they're the conversations you want to be having now. But the hiring manager that's going to have needs in quarter one, maybe even quarter two. Now you might be thinking, and most recruiters, if a hiring manager says to you, "Oh, yeah, we're going to be recruiting in quarter one of the new year," many recruiters go, "Oh, I'll call you back on quarter one." No, say, "Yeah, I get that. Let me just ask you a few questions. Ideally, when do you want this candidate to start?" They're probably going to say, "Well, we want them to start by, let's say, February of next year." What's a typical notice period? Well, it's about a month. In our experience, Mr. or Mrs. Hiring Manager, it's going to take us about 4 or 5 weeks to find this candidate. So from what you're saying, we probably need to start looking at this candidate around about December, beginning of December. Does that sound about right to you? Yeah, I guess so. But do you see how you've changed that conversation? But you're talking to them now about something they're going to do maybe 12 weeks away. So if you can get in that position on a regular basis and your meetings are at that sort of time scale, you're now ahead of your competitors. The client's more likely to work with you on a retained basis. The client's more likely to work with you exclusively, and you're ahead of the game with everybody else. Hope that makes sense. Who was that, Gary? Yeah, it does. Excellent. Yeah, thanks for that, Gary. Yeah. Listen, thank you very much for joining us today. Our sole aim is to help you generate more leads, make more placements, and earn more money. If you want to jump on the call with one of our team, please go to makemoreplacements.com clients now. That's makemoreplacements.com clients now. And we'll have a chat with you. Look specifically at your business, what's going on in your business, what's getting in the way, and we'll give you the relative information. So it's /clients now. My apologies. So let me just read that again because Drew just said I've got that slightly wrong. So it's makemoreplacements.com /clients now. That's makemoreplacements.com /clients now. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Until next time, take care, take action, be relentless, and thanks for the positive feedback as well. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Drew.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.